This is a podcast by the Straits Times.
Hello, I'm Lynda Hong, Assistant Podcast Editor for the Straits Times. You're listening to In Your Opinion, a podcast series by the Straits Times that takes a hard look at social and political issues of the day. Today, I have my co-host and STNow reporter, Christie. Tell us what we're going to discuss in this episode.
Hi! We're going to talk about driving behaviours and traffic accidents. As a breaking news reporter, I write about traffic accidents almost every week. Whether it's motorcyclists, drivers, or pedestrians, many road users I've interviewed lament about Singapore's road culture, with many saying it is overly aggressive. Fatal accidents in Singapore have been the highest since 2016, and motorcyclists make up half of those fatalities. And here on the show with us, a motorcycle safety consultant. He's a former motorbike and car instructor with the Singapore Safety Driving Centre for nearly 40 years. Welcome to the show, Aman Aljunied.
Thank you.
And our next guest is a typical commuter who drives every day. But he's also a biker and is actively involved in a group renowned for their safe riding practices. Director of Harley Owners Group's Singapore chapter, Dennis Quah. Welcome to the show, Dennis.
Thanks for having me.
So, Dennis, we see no shortage of social media posts calling out bad behavior on our roads. And in the comment sections, you see motorcyclists and drivers arguing over who is to blame in an accident. On occasion, this turns ugly when a tragedy is also celebrated, or people say things like death or injury is deserved because of the way someone rides or drives. So, Dennis, is what we're seeing online really happening on the roads? And does Singapore really have an ugly road culture, and is it worsening?
So these unfortunate events are clearly happening. These videos are circulating online. Those are for real. And it speaks to a rather poor culture, quite frankly, where, negative events like this actually gets attention. And I guess you can even monetize it nowadays, right? Through clicks. So definitely there is a commercial, otherwise financial motivation for this to be propagated. So you see more of it. As to whether more of it is happening, I'm surprised at your statistic about the number of cases, fatalities increasing since 2016. Probably the case. I mean, I don't see the numbers myself. Fortunately for myself, as much time as I spend on the roads in my car or my motorcycle, I've yet to see myself a fatality. So touch wood, I hope not to really see one. But I'm pretty sure just by sheer volume of the use of roads over the last few years, the number of incidences are not surprisingly increasing.
But you also ride overseas. So do you think that, our road culture is different from some of the other Southeast Asian countries?
For sure. Each country has its unique style of managing traffic. I mean, road conditions are different. Singapore is quite privileged with very well-paved roads with good traffic lights, generally well-planned urban infrastructure. So generally positive for road users. And you go further out north into Malaysia, Thailand, especially if you go to the more rural areas, a lot less infrastructure, a lot less well-maintained road structure. Naturally, your driving behavior needs to change, become a bit more aware, a bit more defensive. So every country would have its own unique way of adapting to the local and physical environment, and also the local culture of road use as well.
What about road behaviors then of drivers in other countries? Do you see that, sometimes that kind of aggression that we see in Southeast Asia countries as well? Have you ever encountered that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Singaporeans are famously impatient. We're all in a hurry to get somewhere, to do something, and we have actually a very high density of road users on the road in Singapore. So the competition for space on the road already is very high. So naturally, it doesn't create you would not think of Singapore as a driving holiday destination, right? You do that in California, you do that in some parts of Australia where the roads are big, wide, lovely environment. But in Singapore, it's very urban, very built up. And unfortunately, it does foster some poor behavior for your road users. So yes, that would be the case.
Aman, some feel that road users are aggressive and entitled. What do you think? From your 40 years in the industry, are there reasons behind this behavior?
Yeah, if you compare the number of vehicles on the road, recently, I think it has increased tremendously. And it has caused a lot of congestion. Some drivers feel more trapped and slowed down when they drive on the road. So to compensate by this reduced speed, some tend to move faster. You see, whenever they clear this traffic jam, and especially in the morning, you will notice that many delivery drivers, van, truck, they are pressured. They are pressured to meet their deadline. So sometimes they tend to go a little bit faster.
So do you think the fact that we have more delivery riders and private hire car drivers, for example, will make like other road users more aggressive towards them, or vice versa?
I think so, yes. Because sometimes other road users having problem driving, like changing lanes, especially beginners. Because these people, not all, they are good drivers also on the road. From my own experience teaching, especially in the morning, they tend to refuse to give way. Even though learner driver with L plate hanging in the car, when they want to change lane, nobody wants to give way.
So do you think it speaks to a larger issue in Singapore where we just have a very fast pace of life and we're not able to slow down?
Oh, yes, because people are being influenced. Influence means I want to give way, but then everybody don't give way. So sometimes, why should I give way also? I'm also in a hurry. So, yes, it does influence people.
Yeah, I mean, Singapore's famously for being very stressful, right? I mean, there's a stress index. I think Singapore would probably be quite high up there. And all of us operate under a very tense environment, and no different when you drive a car or you ride your bike. And the thing about a lot of the services that we access today, whether food delivery or parcel delivery, a lot of it is time bound, right? So if the delivery guy or person can do more deliveries within the day, the person makes a little bit more money. And nobody can fault anyone for trying to make a good living, right? So that's where, risk-taking increases. People maybe take less breaks a little bit. They do these jobs under a little bit more duress, with less rest. So all these could potentially be contributory factors to road incidences.
And Dennis, when you say some feel that the cause of unspoken tension between drivers and other road users like motorbike riders, as you've mentioned, and even cyclists, is that our drivers have to pay hefty fees to use the roads, particularly, COE, ERP fees. And currently, COE prices for cars range from $88,000 to about $100,000. So for motorbikes, it's much, much less, right? At about $9,000. So this gulf, can this be a reason behind the resentment and sense of entitlement that, some drivers might feel that they should have more right on the road since they pay more money?
Well, we're all subject to our own biases, right? So it's really hard to say. I'm sure there are individuals that, by virtue of the high cost of these toys called cars in Singapore, you feel a bit more entitled and therefore demand special treatment. I'm sure that will be a case with some individuals. Whether to say that it's on a cohort level or societal level, I'm not entirely convinced. Many of us drive cars because we have to. We have children, we have elderly parents, we have these expensive items in our life because we need to take care of family, not because it's a toy per se, right? So hard to say. But just put things into perspective. When I got my first motorcycle 25 years ago, I think the COE was like $50. So now that it's $9,000, and my most recent motorcycle was $12,000 something, $100 COE. It's gone up a lot. And you put this in another perspective. You buy a Honda scooter, right, directly from the dealer. The cost of the machine is about $3,000. Right, so the COE is really like 4 times the price of the machine. So the tax is actually a very significant component of the overall spending. But does that drive a motorcyclist who therefore buys a $15,000 scooter, right, machine price plus COE, therefore feels more entitled? I really don't think so. Ultimately, the motorcycle is still the cheapest form of transportation for the average person, discounting the risk and safety issues aside. But it is still the cheapest way to get around, and a lot of people do it because they have to. I'm quite privileged. I do it because I enjoy it as a passion. It's something I've done for a long time. But I've also I'm very privileged to be able to see both sides of. Two broad parts of road usage as a driver and as also a motorcyclist as well. So that gives me a bit of a more perspective because I ride my bike like the way I drive my car, right? And when I drive my car, I pay more attention to the motorcyclist on the road than a typical driver would. So that's part of the reason why I'm here too. Hopefully people can get a bit more perspective that your frame of reference of how you view yourself on the road is not one perspective, and you really should take into consideration the other people around you as well, including pedestrians, including cyclists, everybody that uses the road.
So to have a more wide, like a defensive kind of mechanism to that we will touch on a little bit later by Christie. But Aman, I also want to get your views maybe about, what we're talking about, the COE prices and the fact that cars have to pay a lot more than motorbikes. Do you agree with what Dennis says?
Yes, but for people who own a motorcycle, usually I'm talking in general, not the large capacity motorcycle, those people who ride those 200cc, 300cc motorcycle, for them this COE is very high,
The smaller 200cc is the smaller one.
They pay the same COE as the bigger motorcycle.
Yeah.
So some of them may feel that they are privileged to go fast because to them, I'm paying so much.
So, Aman, as Lynda mentioned earlier, we're seeing a lot more videos of road accidents or ungracious motorists being posted onto social media. Do you think this is a good way to spread awareness of bad behavior?
Okay, good that people are aware of road accident. It can be used for education to avoid future accident and also act as a witness since there is footage. And sometimes this accident happen very quickly, and you don't fully realize what has happened. By having footage, it can help to analyze and slow things down for reference. But the only bad thing is, I would say about this type of content online is risk of doxing. Okay, because it may not have been confirmed or verified who's right, who's wrong. But then the online user will be quick to make their own conclusion. See, before the investigation is over.
So have you seen any examples of doxing or like a particularly big accident where people were outing someone through their license plate, for example?
See, it's not, but I've read article like sometimes people got heart attack while driving. We cannot blame him. Things just happen. And then because of that, it causes an accident. Then without knowing, but just looking at the videos, people will say, see, this driver is very bad and all that, start to blame him.
So what do you think about, there's big accidents, right? And then there's a small kind where it's someone accidentally brushed against, or like they were tailgating, or they didn't give way. So some of these incidents, people also video and put it up on social media. Do you think that is fair, or do you think that's going a bit too much already?
I think personally, I think it's okay, especially for the authority to know who is the one. Because it's not a good thing to tailgate another driver, or it could be me also. And if I stop, he will hit me from behind. So I think it's okay.
You think it's okay to put online also?
Yeah, if you don't do wrong, you don't worry. I don't care if you want to put me on video or what, as long as I didn't do anything wrong.
Right. So just this idea that there are more people watching now, so you have to.
Yeah, I think it's good also, especially now you don't see any patrolling on the road. So in a way, these people are doing the job for the authority.
Oh, okay. So it kind of spreads good behavior, like what not to do in the event that you're driving. Try not to do this kind of behavior, or try not to do it this way next time. For reference, lah, is it, Aman?
Yeah, and I'm not too sure, but I think they will be called up. If you you were speeding, driving recklessly or riding, and then the videos came up, you can see your number plate. I think you will be called up
Okay.
to explain.
But then what do you think about like when people in the comment section start like speaking really badly of the reckless driver, so to speak?
I think it's not nice. Some of them very vulgar and all that. You know. But even though people speeding, sometimes we do not know something bad may have happened. The guy is in a hurry, but still, if you are in a hurry, you are not allowed to drive recklessly.
Dennis, what about you? What's your view about this posting on social media? Then, do you think, on the other hand, do you think it can desensitize people to road accidents?
No, I don't think this desensitizes people. There's definitely an upside to this in that people do watch these videos and realize that the vulnerabilities of being on a motorcycle or being a driver, that you might actually injure or hurt or kill someone. So that I think it has that effect, but there's a little bit of this shock and awe that people sort of like gravitate to social media for, which speaks to other social issues, which I think is a little bit negative. But from a road safety perspective, sure. I mean, it is interesting to see some of these accidents occur and go like, oh, I've actually done that before, and maybe I should have done that. In future, I shouldn't do it, right? So there's a learning outcome from that could be quite positive. How it's presented and the kindness that comes with it, I think that's another discussion altogether.
But do you think that just by the sheer volume of these posts we see, because like for me as a breaking news reporter, one of my duties is to trawl social media to see if there are any accidents, and we see like at least 10 a day. We don't report on all of them because
From Singapore,
and they're not necessarily like major accidents where like someone was severely injured, but it's a lot of what I mentioned before of like a bump or a scrape, or like someone could have fallen off a motorbike but they came out unscathed. So we don't really report on it, but we see a lot of it. So I was just wondering, like, do you think that it could be desensitizing in that way, where you just start scrolling past and it's just kind of like fodder?
potentially. Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, if you see so much of it, that does it really matter? I mean, I'm a motorcycle enthusiast, so naturally I watch motorcycle related stuff, and a lot of those videos get pushed to me as well. And now that you mention it, yeah, like death throws through some of these videos too, right? But does it, I mean, personally, I don't think it desensitizes me. I mean, it makes me a lot more aware. It's like, yeah, okay, kind of want to live. I know I'm not that old. I still have some years ahead of me, so I want to make sure that I'm still around and still enjoy the machine. I think it's going to be quite individual, right? Some people will go, it's like a cigarette pack with very ugly images of, people's lungs and, and stuff like that, right? But people still smoke. So it is, I think it's a very individual response to this.
Sure. So, Aman, many of our reckless driving deterrents, like more stringent laws or harsher punishments, they actually deal with the aftermath of incidents. And I've heard some people argue that the minimum age to get a license should be increased to 21, or that defensive riding and driving training should be made more extensive and compulsory. And for those who don't know, defensive riding is the practice of anticipating potential accidents during adverse road conditions, or when other road users engage in dangerous behavior.
Like what we talked about just now earlier with Dennis. Yeah.
So do you think these are the best ways to go about improving the quality of riding and driving on the roads, or are there other preventative methods to go about this?
Personally, I feel that it's good that we can make people want to learn to drive to go back to classroom setting. Last time, if you want to take license, you have to go to classroom. You have to attend 4-session classroom. Why it is good? It is classroom setting is a two-way.
When was this classroom setting? Because I learned driving in 2013.
You didn't learn from school.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, private, yes.
Okay. You see, in classroom, you can explain in details. Whereas now, if you just go for a basic theory test, okay, you pass. What does green light mean? To many people, it means go. You see, to us, green light means you only go if it is safe to go. So, which means in classroom, we will explain this in detail. How to cross traffic junction, where you're supposed to look, what happens if the light had been green for a long time. Do you still go, or do you reduce speed, All this we explain. So I think we should go back to classroom instead of now online. I log in, I log out, finish.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So you're saying that in the past, if we try to apply for the theory test, we have to go for classroom sessions first.
If you enroll in a school, it is compulsory.
For basic theory,
They did not teach you to pass the theory test. They teach you road safety, how to survive on the road.
okay.
That's true. When I took my basic theory test, it was kind of I just did a bunch of online tests until I figured out what were the correct answers. I don't think
Well, when I
really
took my
studied
test, it was 1999. So
Wow.
yeah, I'm that old. Yeah, it's yeah. I remember I did it at SSDC in Ang Mo Kio back in the day. And instructors were incredibly strict. Yeah, I did it as a
You have to go
fresh
classroom
grad.
also, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, and treated
you-
quite harshly. But
You
yes.
can also ask question and all that. Now, I teach driving every day now. They don't know anything, Just, even the shape of the sign, just the shape alone, it tells you what to do. If you see a triangle shape, you have to slow down, you have to keep left, Not just turn left, turn right, But all this is not being explained. So I think it's good that we can go back to classroom.
So just now, Christie mentioned that she's doing all online. So now all the other schools like Bukit Batok and Ubi, they all offer lessons online. So you don't go to the classrooms now. Is that it?
If you go to school, they will explain this, but if online, they don't.
How many lessons would you usually recommend for such classroom settings?
Last time, when we first started, it was only 4 lessons. Then it was increased to 5, 6. I think the last time I know it was up to 7 lessons classroom. In some countries, you have to attend up to 22 lessons. They teach you everything, how to check your tire, how to change your tire, how to prevent accident.
And Aman, which countries have the 22 lessons to do this in-person classroom setting then?
In Japan, they are very strict. I went to Rainbow Motor School because where I worked before, it is under Rainbow Motor School training. You even have some school, you have to go to boarding school to learn driving. You have to stay in the school for 2 weeks.
Is that in Japan or?
Oh yeah, some countries, some province in Japan, because their driving school is very far. You have to travel 100 kilometers. You cannot go there every day. So they will stay in the school and learn.
I think there's something to be said though, that the training, I think there are 2 parts to it, right? One is the technical handling of the machine, whether you can keep the machine upright, make turns and all that. But there's also the, how do you operate the machine in an environment of other road users? So some call it defensive riding, defensive driving. And I think we probably spend more time talking about how do you start a car, how do you get it out of the parking lot and move it forward and get to your destination. We probably don't spend enough time talking about, how do you keep aware of other road users? How do you make sure that you get to your destination safe and, you don't cause, harm to other people or inconvenience. So, perhaps that's something that we should spend a bit more time training in school, or maybe even promoting more generally, right, in our discussions.
Okay. What do you think can be done to make roads in Singapore a more gracious and, safer one? You mentioned just now that we have been rushing in the morning. It's worse. Traffic gets really bad in the morning because everybody's rushing. Do you think we need to sacrifice productivity to be quick in order to have a more safer and gracious road culture?
Yeah, I think everybody needs to be more zen. And my wife will 100% tell me I need to get more zen as well. But yes, ultimately, the reason why we behave poorly and the poor decisions that we make are mostly because you are under some kind of time pressure, some time crunch, you need to get somewhere real quick. So, and I think there have been a lot of studies showing that if you speed or you take shortcuts, ride aggressively, you actually don't practically save a lot of time. It will be, especially in the context of Singapore where distances travel are generally quite short. So the incremental benefit of rushing to your destination is actually very, very small.
Ooh.
I've actually done an experiment before, right? In Malaysia, where we went on the highway and two groups, one wanted to ride fast, the other wanted to ride slower. Or both groups broke off at the same time. Of course, the quicker group of riders went ahead, and then when they arrive at the next destination, the next group, of course, will pull up right after a while. The difference between the two groups, minutes, like really marginal difference. So you take so much more risk, you put yourself under much more stress, you feel like you're going quicker, and you probably are, but you're probably going to make much of a difference. I think it's a broader culture issue, right? I mean, we're just so stressed. Singapore is a high-pressure society. Everybody's in a hurry. I mean, we know all the practical things. Plan your trip, leave home earlier, take more time to plan your route so that you're less under pressure to rush and all that. We all know that already. I think just fundamentally, I think maybe Singapore needs to take a chill pill and generally let's be less uptight about things. Like one of the challenges is, two cars, there's a gap. One guy wants to get in. Then it becomes an outright battle, right? Don't want to give way and everything, and bumper to bumper. And yeah, have I done that before? Yeah, of course. And it's because this whole stressed environment probably putting you to behave poorly. So, and I catch myself all the time. Like, yeah, why am I doing this? You stupid idiot. Just let the guy go, right? So what if he's one car length ahead of you? He's literally going to be 5 seconds faster.
What you just said, what happened yesterday was, I always tell the trainee, you must stop behind another vehicle when at least you can see the rear wheel of the front vehicle. Okay? So there's a small gap. There's one Maserati behind us. You know what he did? He overtake and tried to slot between. And when the traffic moved, he managed to go in. When he stopped at the next junction, we stopped next to him. And when the light turned green, he didn't move because front car didn't move. We passed him. So you see, it doesn't make any difference.
Aman, so you talked about how before we start driving or learning theory, we should focus more on the classroom on safety, right? What about when you're actually learning driving itself? So do instructors nowadays typically emphasize safety with their trainees, or is it more about just learning how to use the machine?
Okay, for me, when I teach driving, I will teach also defensive driving at the same time. I normally will tell people, if you start late, expect to arrive late. Okay, you start early, expect to arrive early. If you start late, expect you want to arrive early, the only way to do it is speeding. You break the rule. If you break the rule, you risk an accident. So, don't rush. And I always talk about defensive driving, how to prevent accident while driving, while my trainee is driving all the time. So, and I always tell them, you got this for free.
Oh.
Because to learn defensive driving, how to prevent accident, you have to pay if you go to school.
Right. So actually most instructors will not teach defensive driving during the practical part of the class.
I will not know. I'm talking about myself. Okay. Because I worked in a school last time. I conduct the defensive driving course, the advanced safe driving course in school. So when I'm on my own, that's the only thing I know. So I continue doing it.
Right, but so when you were...
It's not part of the syllabus.
Yeah, when you were teaching in school, they didn't include it in the syllabus. Okay. So do you think it should just become part of the syllabus instead of having to be something you pay extra for? It seems quite vital from what you both are saying.
Yeah, some syllabus like, doing a roundabout, I never learned that. And when I got onto the roads, it was so scary because people are beeping at me because I didn't know which lane to end up in. So it was very scary. And, we have to learn how to drive 50 kilometers an hour while we're learning driving. And when you drive at a faster speed, which is what is more common on Singapore roads, it's really quite scary without anybody to teach you. So do you think that, we need to improve a little bit more on the practical driving lessons side of things for Singapore?
Yeah, there is. In school, they conduct They conduct expressway driving course. Some people who just pass, if they want, they can enroll for this course.
I never knew. Okay.
Yep, the elective programs that you can sign up for.
Oh, okay.
I've interviewed some people, I think it was a biker, who said that he only actually got one familiarization course on the, or like trip on the expressway.
Yeah.
So they got to try it once with their instructor and then that was it.
Yes.
Once you pass that the first time, you don't really get much practice on the expressway anymore. Do you think?
During my time, there was no expressway at all.
Yeah. No. Last time.
Yeah. You don't go on expressway.
Yeah, that's why it's quite scary when, you don't really know which is the quick lane, which is the fast lane. And drivers drive very fast on expressway. So that's like, you can't keep up sometimes if you went to the traditional way of the school and you never have a car and you just, rent a car sometimes and just try and drive. Yes.
But yeah, I can partly understand as well because, going on expressway at higher speeds, a less familiar driver may have issues, right? So, I mean, I guess it's maybe they can kind of empathize with the decision not to push people, trainees or people that get past it, get a license, get on a highway right away, because it is a daunting experience. So maybe it's something that people can build up to. Because as a new driver that just gets your license, you can choose to stay on non-expressway roads, right? To get to your destination, especially in Singapore. So it could be that they allow you to make your own decision to the point where you are ready to get onto the expressway and then you step up.
Okay, so we've talked a lot more about the technical side of how to make roads safer. But do you think that's different from an all-in-all more gracious road culture, which kind of, to me, goes beyond like just looking out for yourself and the safety of your own vehicle?
100% yes, without a shadow of a doubt. And when you drive or ride in other countries and you see how people behave on the roads there, it's not difficult to determine that I'm sure road safety is a lot higher and incidences there a lot less. I can name a few examples. So Japan was one I've mentioned before. I mean, super organized. People are generally very courteous. They give you your own personal space. They don't go bumper to bumper even in challenging traffic, and they give you space to overtake. And if you do signal and indicate that you would like to enter into a lane, they generally give you room to get in. In California, I've ridden and driven there before as well. I mean, outside of the cities, like in LA in particular. So in Napa Valley where road traffic is less. Maybe the wine is really good and people are really chill. Everybody's really happy. Almost no traffic lights, right? So if you're driving on a large road and a car is merging in, they give way to you, right? And there are no rules about this. So it's just about local culture and people just being more accommodative to each other. So in Singapore, I mean, I spoke about how stressed we are. I'm very stressed. Like any other Singaporean, we all got jobs and pressures of life and everything. But, if you take those few seconds, and as much as I caught myself with bad behaviors before, I've also patted myself on the back for some good behaviors. Where, oh yeah, please come in, please take the space in front of me. And the guy gives you a thumbs up, gives you waves at you. What happens? You smile. And then, oh, what a great experience. Cost me nothing. The guy feels good. I feel good. Guess what? Safer environment for everybody. So it's a bit of like, hopefully we have a little bit more of that paid forward kind of culture. It could be a little bit better for us, right? And it costs nothing, right? No campaign, no fines, nothing, right? It's literally just being a bit more, just be aware that, other people also use the road too. Like Aman mentioned, there's some people that have personal concerns that forces them to be a bit more hurried. Then, okay, sure, please take the spot in front of me and get on your merry way, right? So if you do a little bit more of that, I think everything's better for all of us.
But long way for us to go into that level.
Unfortunately, yes.
To give way to people, very long way, To make matter worse, sometimes when you stop to give way to another person, someone behind you not happy.
Oh.
Yeah. Why don't you move? I can feel like that, They will horn at you,
Oh.
Why do you give way to him? So that's why I said,
can't win them all, man. Yeah, we try. Can't win them all.
Yeah, you make you feel good, really. When you stop and someone get into your lane in front because he tried to move to the left, he cannot move. Nobody give way to him, and finally you are the one who give way to him.
Yeah, exactly.
It make you feel good.
So what do you think can be done to move along this gracious culture that we're trying to achieve?
Should we have a courtesy campaign, on MRT trains? We have
this
giveaway
last time. Do you know that they have this Safe Driver or Rider Award
Oh,
every year? But I think it's done in a very small scale. Nobody know. You have nearly 200,000 vehicles on the road. Maybe only 10 get it. Nobody know. Maybe we can make it a bigger scale. Like if you get this award, your insurance company will give you a better
Discount.
or something like that. So I think if you can do this in a larger scale, it will be better. Then people will try. You see, when they try, maybe it become habit. Then they become good.
So do you think Singapore has the potential to sacrifice our speed for a more gracious culture?
Potential, absolutely, of course. I haven't written off Singapore yet. So, I mean, every culture, every society will evolve and adapt, right? So, I mean, and to your point, Christie, it's not about speed alone, right? It's actually a lot of these incidences happen at relatively low speed. There's actually general behavior on the roads. So yeah, I think we have a chance. It's like changing any habit, right? It's just you gotta start somewhere. Hopefully it propagates. People see good behavior generally begets good behavior. So that's why at the Harley Owners Group, that's what we try to do as well. I mean, we're super disciplined about how we ride. Some would argue maybe too disciplined. There are all these rules about what you wear, how you ride, where you position the bikes, the hand signals they use to indicate to one another. All these things sound very regimented and boring. But guess what? It makes us an incredibly predictable bunch of guys. So when we're on the roads, and we are also quite strict about being nice to other people, right? Because we do, as a convoy of 20, 30 bikes, we do take up a lot of real estate on the road. And it does sometimes cause inconvenience to other riders. So we have these guys called marshals that basically help protect the group and get traffic organized around us. So if we do cause inconvenience to other vehicles, like when we overtake cars and stuff like that, we make sure we go through training and tell the guys that small things, give the guy a thumbs up, thank him for giving way to you, letting the convoy through, and a less frustrated driver or other road user on the road is one less safety risk for the convoy.
We used to have, you put out your right hand in order you want to move or you want to get some way to signal to the cars behind you. And this practice is somewhat not around anymore. What are your views of reviving this practice of sacrificing a little bit of your aircon by winding down your window and putting your hand out in order to, get some graciousness from the drivers behind you?
This is a good thing to do. I still do it even now, especially to say thank you to someone who give way to me. Or when I'm desperate to go in, nobody wants to give way, I put my hand out. And usually, they will give way. But if you compare from last time till now, it's because technology advancement, now motorcar come with air condition, nobody wind down the window anymore. That's why this is stopped. But on the other hand, there are drivers who still do this.
Do you think that actually helps?
Oh, yes, it really helps. I'm very sure. And after that, you wave to say thank you. People appreciate.
But what is it about this? Sorry, I have never seen this in action before. So what is it about raising your arm instead of signaling that causes people to be more willing to give way to you?
Maybe it's just that personal touch. I mean, people already don't use the indicators enough already, right? And we see that as a perennial problem. And now you have both the indicator and a hand coming out to do that. It becomes a little, it's a nice personal touch, and it shows authenticity, generosity a little bit, because you're a little bit putting yourself a little bit of harm's way, maybe less comfortable a little bit. But yeah, it's like how a phone call makes so much more a difference versus a text, right, nowadays. So I think it's a more human touch.
Like it's a reminder that there's a human being inside the metal box.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to put it. Yeah.
So, good points for authorities and for us to review. And that's a wrap for this episode of In Your Opinion. Thank you very much, Aman, for coming to our show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Dennis, also for your insights.
Thanks, guys. It was good fun.
So I'm Lynda Hong.
And I'm Christie Chew. You can email us your thoughts on this issue. Also, if you'd like to read my articles and ST's opinion columns, all these links are in our podcast show notes. Thanks for listening.
Send your feedback to podcast@sph.com.sg. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or within our Straits Times app. Thanks for listening.